What's up, everyone? It's Anna, also known as That Star Wars Girl, and today I am going to be doing another episode of Star Wars Resistance. Now, if you are new to my channel, which a lot of you are, I have gotten a really big growth in my channel, so thank you to everyone that joined. Welcome. So, Disney put out this TV show called Star Wars Resistance. Now, this is a show that they say is aimed for kids, yet they did not have any toys for this show until February 1st. And I know, because people were like, hey, Anna, when you do impressions of the characters, why don't you have the toys and, do it? So I was like, alright, if this show is for kids, what do kids like? Toys. So I looked, nothing. And then they were on pre-sale until February 1st, and so yeah, now it's February, so they've been out. But for a regular action figure that I grew up buying, they were like what, $8 at the most, unless you got like a 2-pack or like one of the fancy versions, then they'd be more. But they were usually like $8. They, you can build their elbows and their knees, you can rotate their hands, you can have, weapons. These ones, it's like, no, they're all Frankenstein figures. And it's a show about racing, or that's what it's supposed to be. It's about racing. It's about racers, ace pilots. No ships, no toys, alright, and it comes out on Sunday nights at 10 p.m. when, kids are in bed because it's a school night. But, Anyway, if you haven't watched any of Star Wars Resistance, good for you. I've been losing a lot of brain cells doing it. But luckily for you, I have done a review on every single episode, and they're in order in the description below if you want to go and find out what this show is about. And trust me, you really don't need to, but that's there for your own courtesy. If you want to watch them, go ahead. If you don't, I completely understand. So, this episode, and I apologize for the noise, my dog she's on a whole nother level. Sorry about that, my dog's going crazy. I feel like that's going to be a reoccurring theme in all my videos. But, anyway, on to the plot. So, they're doing this new thing where each episode opens up with, the sky. There's sky, and then there's birds, and then there's ships. But now there's TIE fighters, because they want you to know the First Order is there. So, Kaz is building this contraption, and we all know this has been a reoccurring thing in every single episode. Kaz is a complete moron. Kaz has no idea how to build things. For some reason, he was in the Navy, got no training whatsoever on, how to build things, or maybe if, you need, your ship crashes, how to fix it. No, he doesn't. He, basically the equivalent of me, with my car. Yeah, I know how to drive my car. I know how to change a tire. I know how to jump start it. That's about the extent of my knowledge. But I'm not driving in outer space. I have, AAA. I can just call up, you be like, hey, or I can call my dad and be like, hey, somebody tell me how to fix my car. Also, I have Google. I'm not flying through outer space. Kaz, on the other hand, is flying through outer space, doesn't know anything about a spaceship. But, anyway, plot. So, Kaz is building this contraption, and Yeager's like, Kaz, what are you doing? And Kaz is like, I'm gonna get through, and I'm gonna talk to Poe. And he's like, Kaz, the First Order has everything on lockdown. There's a complete block on the communications. You're not gonna be able to get through. Kaz is like, no! Watch! On this, it literally looks like somebody took paper mache, mechanical parts and put it together with an antenna too. It's like, what is this? But anyway, so Kaz is pushing, but he's like, no, I'm gonna get through to him. Noise. And then he's like, Poe, can you hear me? This is Kaz. And then he's like, oh no, let me go back to my codename. It's like, alright, you want to say that, the First Order put a block on everything. Don't you think that they would pay very close attention to communications getting out, and they would know exactly who you are and where you are on the station? Just saying, because we know Kaz isn't a mastermind type of person. I feel like the only person that could probably get away with this would be R2-D2, maybe a Jedi, maybe Han Solo. But no, Kaz, the guy who we have known from the very beginning, is a complete idiot. Somehow, he thinks he's gonna get through. And then we hear Poe's voice, and Poe's like, hey, Kaz. And he's like, see, look, I hear him. And then Yeager's like, guess who's standing there? Oh my goodness, it's Poe Dameron. Yay, we're supposed to freak out and be all happy because Poe's there. Alright, So Poe's there, and he's like, I came here to get BB-8 because General Leia is going to send me on a secret mission to Jakku. And I have to do some recon for her. So, they're setting up for, The Force Awakens, because we all know how that went over. So, he wants to get BB-8, but then Kaz is like, I have so much to tell you since we haven't been in communication for, this amount of time, meaning, this amount of episodes since the First Order got here. So let me go. So they go into Yeager's office. They're looking at the space map with, the Star Wars flash drive. And then they're just like, oh yeah, they need this because it's a refueling station. And then he's just like, well, you know what? This isn't even the biggest refueling station. Why would they want this one? And Kaz's like, I figured it out. Kaz, the guy that's been an idiot in every single episode, except when they need him to be smart. He has proven time and time again, he's a complete moron, can't tell left from freaking right, but for some reason, when, push comes to shove, he knows the right answer. So he says, I know what it is. It's because they don't want the Republic to have it. They want it for themselves. It's like they're the kid at the playground that has all the toys and doesn't want to share because, they're that selfish. That's the way Kaz kind of describes it. But anyway, and then he's just like, why? Why would you say that? And then Kaz says something about a fleet. And he's like, what do you mean, what fleet? And Kaz is just like, I have this. And he plugs it into BB-8, and he's like, BB-8, show him. And they're looking, and he's like, whoa, what the heck? And then they look at this one part of the galaxy, they're like, what is going on? There's something going on in the unknown regions. Oh, and by the way, this refueling station is the last one before the unknown regions of space. Okay, cool, I guess. Alright. For some reason, I guess the Republic needs to go to the unknown regions of space, or something's happening in the unknown regions, apparently, because they had to mention that. They just had to mention that. I'm like, okay, the only time that, came up really in Star Wars wasn't even in Star Wars. It was in, the expanded universe and, the Thrawn books, and some of the other ones. But anyway, plot. So, they're like, okay, we need to go there because there's a disturbance over there. Alright, cool. So here's the thing. Poe got on the station. They even asked, how'd you get on? He wouldn't tell them. He's like, oh, I did a thing. And I'm Poe, so you're just supposed to believe that I did the thing. And so he's like, all right, we're going to do this thing. And it's called something about a widow's something. And Kaz's like, oh, I'm not even married. And they're like, yeah, we know you're not married. But anyway, so this is the plan. The plan is for Kaz to get on the TIE fighter, the X-Wing, landed on top of a transport ship that is leaving the station, and then when it's leaving the atmosphere, to detach himself, turn on his engines, and fly. But we know that... Oh, hey, baby. Tulip wanted to say hi. So, Tulip, you can be my example. So, we have the X-Wing. It's going on top of the ship. And Poe is just like, why couldn't it be a more, non-conspicuous color? Why do you have a bright freaking yellow ship? Everyone can see us. And Kaz's like, well, this is a racer. And he's like, all right, but, okay, fine. And so they're getting up. Kaz detaches from the ship, and they're flying, but hey, guess what? Because the ship isn't that great, the engines start breaking, so Kaz is going down! And then Poe's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And the whole point of this is so that way, because they couldn't just take off, because the TIE fighters would see them. So, what happens? They fall all the way down. They're almost gonna hit the ocean. It's a moment of tension because the engines won't start, and then guess what? Oh my goodness, guys, guess what? The engines start right before it hits the water, and they start flying. All the while, you can see the barge in the background, you can see all the TIE fighters, but apparently no one sees this happening. All it is just ocean everywhere, and no one on this station sees, an X-Wing that's bright yellow falling. But whatever, logic out the window. There you go, Tulip. So, then they fly up. Oh, look, there's Poe's ship. There's the little pink BB-8, and so they get in the ship, or he jumps over onto his ship, then they go to this unknown little sector of space. So they're there, and they're just like, oh my gosh, there's a planet with a big hole in it. Let's fly in the middle of it. Okay, that's a great idea. Science, and science is going to be a big thing right now. So they're flying through the center of this planet, and they're like, oh, there used to be a star here, but now there's not. Okay, and so as they're flying through the middle of the planet, guess what happens? Oh my gosh, there is a gravity well. Science, remember? And so the gravity well, starts, doing this whole whirlpool thing, and then their ships almost get destroyed, and it's like a big thing about how they're like, oh, we're not going to make it out! Oh, we're going to die! That's all on Kaz's part. And then they get out. They get out because science. And so, as they're on the other side of the ship, or the planet, excuse me, they see there's a small moon, and I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to be Starkiller Base or something? Because, maybe that might, actually put, some kind of tension in there. But here's my thing. So these people, the whole Empire, everything from the original trilogy is in the past. So this is all stuff that they should already know about. They should already know what a freaking Death Star is. So when you see a planet that has a big hole in it, what would be my first, instincts? I'm not even in this universe. I just grew up with the original trilogy and the prequels. Guess what? My first thing is like, oh, it's a freaking Death Star. Or it's a Death Star when, I guess this is on a lower setting. That's my first thing. I'm not in this universe. What of them? Oh, I wonder what could have done this. It's like, come on! Come on! What universe do you live in? You guys have talked about the Empire. You've referenced them. Princess freaking Leia lived it! She's the one that's the head of the Resistance. Don't you think that she would be like, oh, that sounds like something the Death Star could do? But no. Logic out the window, down the street, around the corner, to infinity and beyond in this universe. So anyway, they see this moon, and they're gonna go. And instead of, me thinking like, oh, it's a callback, to the OG. It's a small moon. I wonder what that is. No, it's actually a freaking moon. And for some reason, even though when they're outside the atmosphere, they can see, cities. They can see, one city in particular. And I'm like, all right, it takes like our astronauts, up in the space station. I heard that they could see the Great Wall of China, but then I heard other people say that that's not true. But when I was a kid, I was taught that you can see the Great Wall of China from outer space. So, and it's like a speck. But for some reason, this tiny little, I wouldn't even call it a town. It's like a big building that kind of looks like, an Aztec pyramid. So the Aztec pyramid building, for some reason, it's completely visible from space, and you can see, like, all the structures. But for whatever, and so you would think that structure, if you could see that from outer space, it'd be freaking huge, right? Nope. But anyway, plot, science, remember. So they land on the planet. They land on the planet. Instead of doing scans, they just land. There's no people there. I don't know why they needed to go land on this planet instead of, sending to probe. Oh, wait, that's Star Trek. That's Star Trek, guys. The show that actually, kind of has some science in it. I mean, yeah, but anyway, Star Wars does have science too, and you can see a lot more of it in, the actual Star Wars, the George Lucas Star Wars, but this is just like, okay, well, let's just throw things, when we need it, and not have it make any sense, because that's what Resistance is. So, anyway, they're on this planet now, or this moon, they're on the moon. So they're on this moon, they're walking up to the Aztec structure, and they're like, oh my gosh, everyone died. It's like, really? Okay, you couldn't see that from, when I initially saw it, from what they showed us in the TV show, that you can see the structure from outer space and you can see it's desecrated. But anyway, plot, logic, lack thereof. So, they're there, and Poe's just like, everyone's dead. Everyone's gone. Well, he didn't say dead because it's a kid's show. He's like, everyone's gone. They wiped out everyone. Then he sees, like, these little antennas hanging out from under a rock, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is it like Ahsoka? But no, of course, I'm not gonna have her in it. But the tentacle things kind of look like it. Pulls out at some weird rabbit. It's some alien rabbit stuffed animal. So my thought was like, oh, maybe it's referencing those kids that like said that they escaped the First Order. For some reason, no one else on the planet could, but these two kids did, with absolutely no resources, no knowledge of how to fly a spacecraft or money or anything. But yeah, logic, science. So they're on the planet, and I'm just this is where it gets. It was already stupid, and I thought, I was like, all right, is this how they're gonna end the episode? Because what else is gonna happen? Like, maybe they set off a booby trap or something, or maybe they find, evidence of the First Order. But instead, guess what happens? Okay, Poe's like, oh, I feel like we're being watched, and we kind of see the camera angles coming from this other thing, and so we're like, oh, I wonder what that could be. Oh, guess what? My first thing, I'm like, oh, it's an Imperial probe droid. Oh, but no, it's just like, oh, it's a droid. It's like, oh, okay, you're not gonna say Imperial because it's the First Order. I gotcha. But whatever, you're still gonna rip off the OG. But whatever. I guess. And so then this droid, it starts shooting at them, and they start shooting back at it. And then it's like, it's got the head of the Imperial probe droid, but instead, like, the bottom is like all these triangles that make like kind of a weird pyramid thing. And so it opens up, and all these little, baby ones come out, and it's like, oh, we gotta kill the mother. And I'm like, okay. Okay, so they're all trying to shoot at it. As we know, Kaz is a complete idiot. Kaz doesn't know how to shoot anything. We watched as, this guy that was in the Navy, apparently he never got taught how to shoot things. Because, I feel like that's something that you would be taught if you were in the services, the armed services. They would let you fly a freaking spaceship, but they're not going to train you how to shoot a freaking weapon. How are you supposed to defend? Whatever. Logic out the window, around the street, down the corner, to infinity and beyond. I'm going to say that a lot. So, they're shooting, and then Poe's like, BB-8, don't let it get away! So BB-8 shoots this little, propel thingy, the grappling hook thingy onto it, and then it's flying, and BB-8's in the air, so BB-8 sends another one out and attaches it to a wall, and so BB-8's caught in between, and then Kaz is trying to shoot it, but instead he's trying to, because he's such bad at aiming, he's shooting at BB-8, and then he trips! And because he trips, somehow that makes it so he shoots the droid right in the head. And it dies, and it explodes, and then all its little babies die. And then guess who shows up? Oh my gosh, it's the First Order! So TIE fighters start flying, and then I give characters nicknames, so there's Goldie, the gold stormtrooper, then there's Cherry, the red stormtrooper. So Cherry shows up! Cherry's there with his little squadron, and so I'm just like, oh my god. And at this point, I was just like... At this point, I'm kind of rooting for the First Order, because these guys are just so stupid. Like, come on! You're in enemy territory. You don't think that they have these kind of things set up? But anyway, logic out the window, down the street, around the corner, to infinity and beyond. So they show up, and they're just like, alright, they get in their TIE fighters, or excuse me, they get in their X-Wings, because the TIE fighters are coming. And then, Kaz is just like, oh, BB-8, I guess we're not going to be able to make the switch, because Poe said earlier he's there for BB-8, and they're going to switch off, so Kaz is going to get the pink one. Poe's going to leave with BB-8, because he's got to go to Jakku. We know why. And so then, they're in outer space. Now, they're flying in their ships, and then their great idea is like, oh, let's do this. Let's go back the way that we came, because we almost died the first time because of science. Let's go back through the planet, guys. So, they're going back through the planet. Poe's, like, shooting the TIE fighters. TIE fighters are exploding left and right. Cherry's not, though, because for some reason, even though he's a leader, he's behind everyone. So, they go through the planet, and, the well, the gravity well, the vortex of spinningness, for some reason... Even though we watched Poe and Kaz, almost get destroyed the first time they went through, they're flying through it with no freaking problem. It's like gravity is not affecting them, but it's affecting the TIE fighters. Again, science, guys. Science. It only works when they want it to, and on certain characters. So anyway, science. And then Poe's just like, okay, let me shoot the TIE fighters, and let me make dust, so that way Cherry turns around. And he does, and they get away, and they get out, and then Cherry has to back up, because he doesn't want to die, through the vortex of, terror, and gravity, and science. So, once they get out, Poe's just like, alright, I gotta go, Deuce's kid, but hey, before I go, give me BB-8. And so, we watch as they flip their ship, so they're facing kind of like, here's regular X-Wings, they go like this, the droids propel themselves, and as the two droids are going past each other, they both wave with their little arms. And then they go into the opposite ships. And then Kaz is like, hey Poe, how am I supposed to get back to the barge? Like, how am I supposed to go there without the First Order finding out, like, how I did it? And he's like, oh, your droid's gonna tell you. Pink BB-8's gonna tell you. Deuce's kid. And he takes off. And then it's like, okay. And then it cuts over to Tam, Niku, and Yeager. And Tam's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much work to do. And whenever there's work, Kaz isn't here. Why isn't Kaz here? Where is Kaz? And then guess who shows up? It's like, hey, yo, what's up, guys? And she's just like, what are you doing? Who is that? What happened to BB-8? And he's just like, BB-8 had, like, a problem, so I got this one on loan while BB-8's getting fixed. And then Niku's just like, oh, I'm so sad. I was really bonding with BB-8. We had so much in common. And then, what else did they say? This is how unmemorable, but... Oh, Tam gets mad. She's like, well, why are you always taking off when there's work to do, Kaz? Like, what is going on? And then she looks at Egan. She's like, there's something that you're not telling me, and I'm going to find out what it is. Or that's kind of the gist of it. Like, she gives him, that eye, like... the only reason I don't know is because you refuse to tell me. And then Yeager's like, alright. He's like, Tam, there's just some things you don't need to know. Like, this is beyond you kind of thing. But, like, not beyond you as in you won't understand, but, like, it's none of your business type of thing. But he says it a lot nicer. And so then he, like, comes up to Kaz, like, oh, I'm gonna go show my pink BB-8 at the station. Yeager comes up to me, he's like, yo, so what happened? And then he's just like, oh, the First Order are a lot stronger than we thought, and all the stuff's gonna happen, and then episode's over. That was it. That was the episode, guys. Science, logic or lack thereof. Yeah, I'm pretty out of breath right now, if you guys can't tell. That was a lot. I just want you guys to know, I put more enthusiasm into this than is in the actual episode, so I just want you to be aware of that. Because it's not like this. It's not all this happens. It's like slow paced, and like you think that it would have tension, but it doesn't. It's just like, all right, well, I know this character's not going to die, so like, why are you making me? Why do you want me to fear for their life when I already know it's going to be in the movie? But whatever. That's just what they're doing. I know I'm a week behind on episodes. I got sick last weekend, and it kind of threw off all of my week. But that being said, I will be back later on this week with another review of Star Wars Resistance, so fingers crossed for my sanity. Please, please, please. That makes all the difference for it. But everyone, if you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, that's okay too. And if you haven't already, go ahead and make sure you hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click that little bell. That way you get notifications when I do other videos and live streams, and people tend to like them. Tulips and a lot more. So yeah, everyone, have a great rest of your day. And may the Force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye. Hey everyone, after being asked for months now, I finally got a P.O. box, so if you want to send me some mail, go ahead and send it to Anna, that Star Wars girl, or TSWG for short, at P.O. Box number 28171, Santa Ana, California, 927998171. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.